This surely not Nibali. Let's have a look. Let's wait and see as this reveals itself. And we've had a few bumps and bruises down there. That's Caruso, who was just attending to himself as others rode on. Look back for, yeah, a few others as well, Sean. This is exactly what we were warning about. It was getting a little bit nervous, a drift to the left or right-hand side of the road, and all of a sudden you're going to be into the paving that you're not aware of. It's tight and testy.
Yes, well, it is tight, and that is the problem. As we can see, Fuglsang here also. He's after being on the ground. We can see there
he's been cut by his own specs here.
Yes, and he's a cut just around the right eye there, and that is the zone there we just went through. You could see that it was a danger point because it was just going to tighten up, and the footpath, somebody just trying to get up the footpath, not making it, and just going down, and then there's a number of riders getting caught up.
Yep, indeed. It was Caruso, incidentally, for Bahrain Merida. This is that narrow section, as you can see. Katusha cars, they're just getting in the back of the cars. Not too much time lost, but they're kind of single file right now. And it's the usual suspects. They're buying the right to fight here. De Koning Quickstep, of course, will be working for Viviani. Pushing on at the moment. They're setting the pace. Tucked in just behind Team Jumbo-Visma. Working, of course, for Dylan Groenewegen. Meanwhile, that is Tony Martin, who finds himself back here, I'm afraid. Presumably one of those that got upset by the tumble. May well have been another issue. Others as well involved here. Koen de Kort, who's lead-out man for Jesper Stuyven, unfortunately in the crash as well. So he's not going to be much use to Stuyven, I'm afraid, by the time they get there. 16.7 kilometres to go. Look how strung out they are, but look at the head of the Viper, if you like, out front here as the road starts to swell with teams that want to stay safe, and Ineos still fully intact, getting into that position. German champion Max Schachmann just getting himself into position as well. That's Manny Buchmann to look after him in the first instance, and Peter Sagan presumably as well a little bit later on. There is the Tony Martin group, or more significantly, I guess you might say, Jakob Fuglsang group, trying to get itself back in. 53 seconds is the gap between this group and indeed those behind, or is it Stefan Rossetto that we're still waiting to be collected here? 16.2 kilometres, haven't seen too much of him because we've been dwelling back here right now. Meanwhile, you can see the rises and falls of the terrain here, Sean. This is not easy riding, especially after such a distance that we've had today. It's a long and tortuous introduction. 194 kilometres and more today, Sean. He looks banged up, doesn't he, Fuglsang?
Yes, well, he has a lot of road rash there, a lot of blood running from his right elbow, from his eye as well, or just under his eye. And we can see there that a lot of the teammates around him trying to get back in as we come through Tervuren, and I think the good thing is at this point, just over 15 kilometres to go. It's not racing full on at all at the moment, because if it was, that would be a difficult one here for Astana to get back in. But looks like they're waiting maybe for the team car to come up, and it's going to be an interesting one. See, what is he going to do? Is he looking to change a bike, or
well,
is he looking for maybe the race doctor?
I think he's trying to survive at the moment, Sean. Goodness only knows. It was words that were exchanged only. There we are. Gosh, he looks like a boxer, Sean, that's actually just had a bad one. Well,
the blood always looks that bit much more, and sometimes you just get a little bit of a cut there, and the blood starts running down here. But we can see that he seems to be in pain a little bit, suffering at the moment. But he just has to get on with it here. If he hasn't any real major injury, which is broken bones, continue on here, get back into the peloton, because at this point the race is going to start really pushing on as we get inside the final 15 kilometres.
They're not inside the cars, they're keeping it honest here. They're riding in the road, as that option is just taken here by Koen de Kort, Trek Segafredo. He goes in and they decide to join him in that endeavour. What a shame. On the opening day, there's always one, isn't there, Sean? And this time that man is Jakob Fuglsang. A desperate fortune, even if it's just the body shock that gives him a bad night's sleep or two. You've got to ride your luck in a game such as this, Sean, and it's no fun playing it when you've been down.
No, well, sometimes, as I said, it looks worse, much worse than as actually is when you see a bit of blood running down. And of course, if your eye wear, just nips you around the eye, well, then you're going to get the blood flowing for a moment, and it looks much worse than it actually is. But yeah, you have to wait and see. You have to get on with it, and the main thing is when you find yourself on the ground and you get back up, you feel. And the riders know from most of them from past experience, if you have done something to your collarbone, your elbow, if you have a broken bone, you can feel that pretty quickly. But sometimes, the bash up the road as well can be quite painful. But the main thing is the riders, and the way you think is, I have to get back here if at all possible. Get your teammates around you, get back into the peloton and try to get the finish, and then just look at your wounds later.
Of the general classification men, watch out for Nibali. Of course, also watch out for Rigoberto Urán. Remember, a couple of years ago, he was in a break that went very, very long. Ended up with his gears meshed, and indeed, was it Bardet he beat on the very last on the line? The French were broken-hearted that day, but he proved that he can sprint when it's gnarly, and today it most certainly is. And EF Education First are getting themselves up firstly to look after Rigoberto Urán, but maybe release Alberto Bettiol. They're in the bright pink. They've just been screened from us at the moment as Nibali's men come up dead centre of the road, and all the GC men are starting to play the game now, Sean. Here's Ineos in their claret and black, also of course with both Egan Bernal, Geraint Thomas, indeed plenty of others potentially to go well here. I said earlier on I thought that Gianni Moscon might try a flyer. Well, they've got a launch pad should they decide to do that. We're only 10 kilometres away from the safe zone, the place where if you do have a tumble, Sean, you're likely to keep your time.
Well, when you get to the final 3 kilometres, of course, there's a little bit of the pressure off there, but it's still not over because you have to stay in that peloton. Yep. And if there is a gap, in the final 2-3 kilometres, then you can lose 10, 15, 20 seconds very quickly. So at the 3 kilometres to go, it doesn't mean that you can just knock off your effort and just, finish at the final 3 kilometres easy. You still have to fight all the way to the line, and this crash we've just had here with Fuglsang, that's going to make everybody nervous because the director sportives are going to be calling over the radios, the riders, okay guys, keep up in the top 30 places from here on in, because it is going to be dangerous. It is going to start racing real fast at some point, and just to be in the good position at the right time. Well,
this man's losing seconds. As you can see, the clock just seems to be in free fall at the moment. 37 seconds right now. More road rash from Nibali's teammate Damiano Caruso, not necessarily part of the lead-out train for Nibali. That duty will go to Garcia, then Tratnik, and then Matej Mohoric. But he's back within this group, but that looks very, very sore, and it's a glute as well that's taken a big hit. And if you get a bruised gluteus maximus, then you're certainly going to know about it. That's your engine room, essentially. The look-backs go on, and Astana are clearly worried. And I'm not surprised. It seemed to be his knee. Yes, it's his knee that he was talking about. He was pushing down on it, Sean. He's trying to shake out where you can actually get a cramp developing if you've taken a big hit. Well,
you can, and if you come down very heavy on the knee, you can give it a good bash off the street, and that can be quite sore. So, yeah, that could be the concern, and there's not a lot you can do now as we go inside, the final number of kilometres here. You just have to try and get on with it at all costs and get to the finish, and then assess your injuries at that point. And they are just on the tail end of the peloton, but that doesn't mean it's over for Astana. They have to try and make their way up a bit closer to the front of affairs, because at the rear end of peloton, that is a dangerous place to be. There's going to be riders who will just lose contact, and they will leave the wheels in front go. So you cannot take that risk as a GC rider to stay back on the end of the peloton. So they have to try and move up as close as possible to the front of the peloton.
Stefan Rossetto is doing his prize entry into the Tommy Voeckler Gurning Competition Memorial Award. Yes, the tongue's coming out. He's grimacing and gurning, and doing it for confidence, making us talk about him, and indeed the team, as did Nat Bahani, who was in the break. The first incarnation of it a little bit earlier on today. 10.6 to go. Medical cars zigging and zagging all over the place. They need to start looking at the road, not at the rider, and let the meds do what they need to do, because this rider's trying to come by here on the left-hand side. Bit of sketchy driving work there from the med car. They're having a sort of see you afterwards kind of conversation, which actually is a good thing, Sean. You know, if you hadn't answered the questions like what's your name and what colour is your jersey, then he'd be straight in the back of the car, I'm afraid, with concussion.
Yes, well, I don't think there's a problem there with concussion. It looks like the knee, the right hand one there, and we could see the doctor there was, you know, possibly after spraying that's something on the knee, maybe just disinfecting it or something, maybe for an anti-inflammatory. But he's still just a little bit off the end of the main peloton, but. Yes, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully that is not, you know, some major, more of a serious injury, because this is not what a rider who is going for the GC to have at this early point in the race. But it's the first stage of the Tour of France, and hopefully this is the last one we're going to see, because we can see here the riders all packed across the road here, and everybody is just pushing to stay in the front here, and that is when it's real dangerous.
What a stage. Forget about prologues. Those things seem to be buried in the distant past. Yes, it's a full-on road stage of over 194 kilometres, and in fact we've just got 9.7 of it. It's a brutal way to start a Grand Tour, and for some it can end in bumps and bruises, and sometimes worse. Let's hope everyone stays safe. Now there's teams with something to prove today, and I suspect the Dimension Data are one of those. I think Nizzolo will have a good old go today. Big dig in for him. And of course he's got the help of Edvald Boasson Hagen and Jens van Rensburg as well as part of the lead out. Handy they are. What about Sunweb? They come dead centre of the road. This is Michael Matthews, boys, and in fact it's all in for Matthews, don't forget, with Nico Arndt, Cees Bol as well, who's another option for them, and Trag Anderson likewise. And they're heading the field at the moment and drawing out a response from the brave and indeed those who just want to take their chance if it presents itself. The crowd's mass, so does the peloton though, Sean. Astana are back in with Fuglsang. Everyone's just about together, which means it's going to be even more frantic in these last 5k when they come.
Well, it is going to get more and more frantic here, and you know, it's going to just, the nerves are going to build all the way now, and you know, the teams are just trying to move up. The ones who are not very much on the front of the peloton, they are going to try and get organised with 4 or 5 of the team together and take their lead at the front. If it's a general classification man or if it's one of their sprinters, and just keep to the very front of the peloton, meaning in the top 30-40 riders at this moment. And some is just to stay out of danger, others for the sprinters is thinking about the stage victory. And yeah, this run in here is it's a one where Sunweb with Cees Bol, he would be a one. I think if it was a pan-flat finish, he could be the one for the team, but I think it should be Michael Matthews here, the open finish. Matthews is a one who can finish very strong on this style of running.
Yes, indeed. They dip into this underpass here. Spectacular, beautiful approach. So much of this city is, of course, now modern. But some of its old spectacular buildings and indeed structures are here still to enthrall. A lot of parkland here, and it's beautiful. In fact, our finish line today is exactly there. We're about to pass by the place where they'll play Ode to Joy. Depending on which, on your opinion, you either face the music or you don't. We'll leave that hanging. Meanwhile, 7.7 kilometres to go, and the great monuments here, well, put them to one side for a moment and just think about the Tour de France. And Belgium and Brussels in particular have been thinking about it for such a long time, Sean, and they've come out in their tens and hundreds of thousands here.
Yes, well, big numbers, and that was always expected here in Belgium, that we would get huge number of people on the roadside all through the stage, and it hasn't disappointed at all. Weather, of course, being really good here, so that's got more people out. And yeah, as we go into the final number of kilometres now, it's going to be just a continuous line of spectators at both sides of the roads all the way to the finish line.
Well, I don't know if you know the tune Ode to Joy. Some of you are whistling it, some of you are spitting it out. Yes, thankfully we've left all that to one side as we enjoy the sporting encounter, which is indeed this Tour de France. And we're here in Brussels, and indeed they're starting starting to muster, and everyone's got a line to play with right now. But how are they going to make it? Movistar and Alejandro Valverde, what about him today? That could be an option. He's cheeky enough, for goodness sake. That would be outstanding if he makes it, but let's wait and see. It's about GC men looking after themselves. Here's a side bet for you. Andrea Pascalon. Now, he has been going very well in Plumelec, Luxembourg likewise. No Dupont for them, but Pascalon has it all shoved upon his shoulders. He's possibly going to go solo today, and he's going to make a noise for himself. So is Andre Greibel by the looks of things, and it looked like it may well be an early bid by him. Nibali's boys getting themselves into position with their red and golden helmets, but it's Sonny Colbrelli will have the gift, I guess, of not only them keeping Nibali safe, but then working for him. Dimension Data not out of this either, as they take a big 90-degree with 6 kilometers to go. We have 4 more brutal 90-degree turns to be taken before we get to the line. A couple of other curves as well, which we'll talk you through. Meanwhile, at the back, those who are not going to get involved need to just keep themselves safe as we hove in on Castroviejo, and indeed some of those that have taken a tumble or indeed been out front. That's Rossetto is in the break having a well-earned drink. Meanwhile, the pace is high up front, Sean, with 5.6 to go.
Yes, well, it's going to be super fast run in here in the final 5.5 kilometers, and we can see a lot of teams in yours there, a number of riders on the front. They just want to keep out of danger.
Ineos reassembling themselves at the front. Just tucked in is Bora Hansgrohe, a slightly paler jersey than perhaps you're familiar with, but Peter Sagan is there. He's got Lutus Postelberger, the postman who always delivers. Let's wait and see if he does so. He needs to punch a hole for Sagan to find, and there's only 5 to go here. The mullet of Daniel Oss is at the back, acting as wheel guard for Sagan, who's dead centre of that trio of Bora riders. You can't even see him at the moment because he's tucked in nicely. In fact, it's his team that are working still hard for him. He hasn't quite tagged onto them. He's just showing right now. He's staying with Matthews for the time being, and that's a good strategy essentially. So Sagan's got 3 men ahead of him, then Matthews as part of a duo, as you can see, and others are starting to mix it, and this is where De Koning Quickstep come. 4.2 to go, 90-degree turn to come right now. First of 3 that come in short sequence, and there it goes, and Daniel Oss's wheel is the one that Sagan is fighting for, and they've got 4 in line at the moment as they'll take a big left-hander in a moment. They're bossing all of the corners at the moment, Sean. That's sensible.
Yes, well, that's what you've got to do, and we can see there the riders are just making a sprint to get into the good position, to get into that corner, the right-hander, and you know, anytime there's one of those coming up, that's what you will see, because there's 3 or 4 teams with the same idea, same tactic, and you know, they all just make that up in pace and try and get to the corner in a good position, meaning lead into the corner, and that is the safest place to be, and that is going to continue all the way in this final number of kilometres.
Another turn, 3.6 kilometres to go, and as you can see, a few just getting bumped and out of position there. That's precisely what some of the big men want to avoid, and Peter Sagan, who's not averse to sticking his boot in on occasion, finds himself in a good place. Jens de Buskera here with Niels Pollitt, Marco Haller, Rick Zabel doing a proper job for Team Katusha. Again nursing through, 3.3 to go. Next turn is coming up right now. It's a nasty one. It's a right-hander. As you can see, it's got a sketchy approach to it as well. We're at the back of the pack with 3 to go. There it is. Last of the 90-degree turns has been taken, but at 2Ks, you have a left-hander over the bridge, and that's going to be a pinch point as well. And from that moment on, Sean, the road narrows 26 metres wide. That's not wide.
No, it's not wide, but again, it's on the uphill, so it should be stretched out at that point. But we're into the section running now in the final 3 kilometres, where it's not as technical, because we did go through a section there from that just outside the 5 kilometres where there was a number of corners here, but the peloton, it is getting stretched out well here. As we can see, it's Alex Dowsett who is pushing on the front and keeping the pace real high for Katusha. Lotus Udala starting to come here, so a lot of the sprinters teams are the ones who are on front of the peloton for the moment.
Trentin's starting to make a move as well. He's kind of hidden in within that group, the European champion for Mitchelton Scott. He's hiding behind the Bora boys at the moment. Andrea Pascalon is going solo for Wanty. You'll see that sort of day-glow green helmet of his knocking about. Meanwhile, Lotte Soudal is starting to play the game as Roger Kluger, Jesper de Boyskij, Caleb Ewan into position right now. There's not much space to play with, and still we've got Bahrain Merida here. That will be for Sonny Colbrelli, who was up in the intermediate sprint, and others. I think this is the European champion who's coming high, wide and handsome round the outside. 1.9 to go. This is that left-hander I was telling you about over the river. Suddenly the road will turn into the park, and that's where it gets narrow, and that's where we have our ascent. We're allowed to call it that, Sean. We've got a ramp to deal with.
Yes, well, we have got that ramp to deal with, and the riders will be very much aware of that this run to the line is a difficult one, and there'll be a lot of riders just wanting to hold off for a bit longer than they would in a normal sprint, because normal sprint on a flat running would be around the 200 kilometres where they would really kick.
There we go, all over the place, too narrow, not much space, wheel touch, men down, all over the place. Let's see where it happened. Oh my goodness, that's knocked out a couple of likely contenders for today, I'm afraid. On the deck, down hard, and yet again Bahrain Merida find themselves in trouble, and I don't think Nibali was up towards the 4. Let's wait and see who's involved in this. What a shame it is. That's Van Aert. That's I beg your pardon. That's on the. No, you're right. Oh my goodness. Well, that's the end of Groenewegen for today. You're absolutely right. Christophe over to the right-hand side by the barriers. Sometimes it takes a big man to punch a big hole in the air, and maybe it's going to be him. Michael Morkov looking around and searching for teammates, and everybody is. Daniel Oss picks it up right now, and it's time to engage. If you've got anything left, stay off the barriers. Oh my goodness, that is so dangerous. It's a big pickup time, and it's De Buskera who's a big man who starts to tuck in here. Matthews has got some options as well. Here we go, 600 metres.
Yes, we can see here it's De Koning Quick-Step with the Michael Morkov who was leading out here, and everybody have looked around, and we can see it's still the team of the De Koning who are leading here with
Richesi it is that's there, but check this out. Matthews has a look, and just behind him is Peters again. Here comes Viviani as well. It's options time. Can you spend them? Let's wait and see. Oh, it's Nizzolo as well, who's also tucked here, and here comes Colbrelli, who's here biding his time. Is it too late? Has he got what he takes? It's Sagan against Colbrelli here with Ewan in the middle. There's Matthews as well. Ewan goes the other side of Sagan. Big fight back here. Oh, and they throw it to the line just in time. Oh my goodness, I think Sagan just took it at the very last here. What an approach that turned out to be. Was it Turnison that got himself up in the frame? That was magnificent, but I think Sagan took it, Sean, at the very last. How nervous was that?
Well, it was a real fight to the line. We could see the way the riders were just struggling to get to the line there. It looked like Van Aert actually from the team that was the one who was coming there in the end, but it was a close one, but it looked like that Sagan might have just held on.
Wow, what a finish that turned out to be. A brutal one. All those that fell for that crash was within the last 3 kilometres, but we said the road had some pinch points. Let's have a look at it right now, Sean.
Yes, as we can see here, this crash it was the one in the group which caused a lot of problems. We did see there was an AG2R rider that went down there, and he went over to a little bit to the left-hand side. I'm not sure who that is, but it certainly caused a big split in the peloton. But yeah, as we went on from here, it was all
Thomas on the barriers as well. Let's have a look. Picking it up here, Colbrelli was digging in for glory, just ran out of road essentially. Big push up here, well worked, I have to say, towards the line, and it was Mike Turnison who, do you know what, I think he took it. Turnison, it was ahead of Sagan by my reading from that up-head shot. What a finish that was. Remarkable. Mike Turnison has been declared the winner. Beats Peter Sagan at the line. Caleb Ewan on the ramps, always there. Colbrelli was in the frame, but Ewan in front of him. What a finish. And Turnison proving just how keyed up and dialed in Jumbo Visma were for this finish. Dylan Groenewegen hitting the line, but The man who was supposed to start off the approach was there. So was Janssen and Mike Turnison. They had a fallback position, Sean, that was a luxury in the end on a day that tested so many to the limit.
Yes, well, apologies. I thought it was actually the Belgian rider there who was coming up, but Van Aert, but Turnison. It was a strong finish from there, because it looked like that Sagan was going to get it and hold off, but Turnison just coming in that final. We could see there at the photo finish, Turnison gets the stage victory.
You're in fourth place, Nitzola. Colbrelli finishing fifth today. Matthews, Trentin, Nason, Viviani and Stuyven rounding out your top 10. Wow, what a day. That's the Tour, and today was torture for so many, was it not?